Welcome to Big B Daily. No frauds allowed.
What is going on, everybody? This is your boy, Brien Hanley, Big B, and welcome back to Big B Daily Show, man. We appreciate everybody showing up, man. We appreciate everybody being here. We are live on TikTok, live on YouTube. We appreciate you guys. What is going on? Good Tuesday. Got a couple things to cover, as always. We'll get into it. We're talking a little bit of LeBron, talking a little bit of college basketball. I told y'all, let's start talking college basketball, man. It's starting to heat up. And y'all know that's my second favorite sport is college basketball, right behind the NFL. We still got 2 NFL head coaching jobs that are available. So we'll get into it. But I appreciate everybody being here. Again, man, if you are on TikTok, please continue to tap the screen. We want as many people in here as possible, man. Have good conversation today. So looking for at least 5,000 likes and 30 new follows. So if you are not following, please give us a follow. We appreciate it. And also click on the YouTube link in the bio. Come subscribe to Big B Sports Talk over on YouTube. Come join the chat. There's a lot of things over there that you don't have access to on TikTok, which you've got Instagram, or not Instagram, but you've got interviews, you've got podcasts, you've got Hot Soup Fantasy Football is over there. Y'all loved when he was in here during the season. So we got a lot of stuff over there, man, that you don't have access to. So join the chat over there. But otherwise, let's get into this. So, Austin, what's going on, man? Thank you for the gift, man. So last night, man, look, I am a LeBron James fan. I am an unapologetic LeBron James fan. Now, I'm honest. You know, when it comes to LeBron, I'm not one of these crazy people, but I'm a fan because I'm a fan of good basketball. And regardless of what you say, he's a crybaby and all of this, he's a flopper. He couldn't last in the 90s, which is it. That statement is just ignorant. But I'm a fan, and I'm a fan of everybody. I'm a fan of Jordan, Kobe, Kareem, LeBron. I'm just a fan of good basketball. But my favorite player is Larry Bird, without question, Larry Bird. But LeBron is that dude. But last night is why people badmouth LeBron. This is literally why. He gets hit in the head by Dillon Brooks. And he gets hit in the head, first of all, with a wrist. Or I don't even know if it was the head. It was more like the jaw, side of the face by Dillon Brooks. Dillon Brooks might as well shot LeBron in the back of the head. He falls down, rolls around on the ground like he had been shot with a bazooka. I mean, he's that big, and then just to wallow around. This is what makes it hard for people that like LeBron. It's that kind of stuff that makes it hard for him. How do you defend that? Like, I can't defend that. When people say, oh, man, he's a sissy, he's a flopper, and then you see this, it's like, yeah, I guess he is. I mean, I literally cannot defend it. So it's stuff like that that makes it hard. And then you'll see him go back down the court, drive through 5 people. People are hanging all over him. He gets an and one as he makes a layup. So it's just insane. It's just insane. And then you got people. Bills Mania. LeBron wouldn't last 1 second in a July NFL minicamp without pads. Well, does anybody last in a minicamp without pads? That doesn't even make any sense. That you're going out of your way to hate LeBron. You could just say something simple like, why does he do what you just said, Brian? But instead you go out and see, this is why there's always these arguments, is because people make outlandish statements like that. And then you get the LeBron people to defend it, and then it's a back and forth, and it's crazy. It's crazy. And the GOAT says, we love our crybaby. Yeah, I get it. I get it. It's just wild. And you get into that whole debate on whether you think that LeBron is the GOAT or you think that MJ is the GOAT, all of this stuff on who you believe. And you go back and forth, and people say LeBron couldn't last in the 80s or 90s, even though he's bigger than Karl Malone and was more athletic than anybody in the league, but somehow he couldn't last in a league where he's bigger than everybody. I don't understand that, but okay. But then you turn around and you see this, where a man hits him with if y'all saw the play, it looked like, now he hit him, and I'm not even saying he doesn't hit him hard, but it didn't punch him. He hits him with the inside of his wrist on the side of the head. And the man goes down like a bazooka has just gone off. It's insufferable, to be honest with you. It's insufferable. But what are you going to do? What are you going to do? So it's just crazy. And you're right. He's playing the system. I get that. I get that he's just doing what the rules allow him to do. I know that. But it's nauseating, to say the least. Come on, LeBron. We don't need the drama. We don't need it. We don't need the acting drama. It's just nauseating. So it's crazy. It's just crazy. But that's what he does. That's where it is. That's what the NBA is for the most part. All the flopping, all the acting. They've taken a page out of soccer and taken it to a whole new level. Because in soccer, it's the same way. On soccer, those guys go down like a tank has blown them up. But then they come out with that super spray, and they spray it on there, and they're back up and running. Back up and running. That's why I don't watch soccer, but when I do, I love to see it. I love to see that part of it. I mean, literally, it's like grenades have gone off. Guys just blown up, and they come out with that super spray. And that super spray, I don't know what's in it. I don't know what it does. Well, take that back. I do know what it does, but I don't know what's in it. But I need to get some of that in my house. Because when I get up in the morning, these old bones, these old knees creaking, I need some of that super spray. Spray it on my knees so I can get going in the morning. Because that is just crazy. Just crazy. So it is what it is, though, man. It is what it is. My man Zach says, I don't know how people sit down and watch a 90-minute scoreless game, talking about soccer. People love it. I don't love it, but people love it. So my man Pat Cockrell over on YouTube says, LeBron does cry a ton about small things, but let's not act like Dillon Brooks isn't a jackass on the court. Well, I mean, that kind of goes without saying. Dillon Brooks last night was trying to hurt. I mean, he's pushing people in midair. He pushed Jarrod Vanderbilt in midair. I mean, he's going to do something to somebody where somebody gets seriously hurt. And then what are you going to do? I mean, at some point, if you're a league and you don't want that in your league, don't you make an example out of them? It's like the whole Draymond thing. Draymond got suspended indefinitely. It ended up being 14 games, but I think it could have been more. But the league let him go with the foolishness for so long and did nothing. You created your own monster. So, yeah, Chuck said the same thing. Brooks is trying to be Draymond Green. My man Pat Cockrell said Draymond Green 2.0. I mean, that's exactly right, people. That's exactly right. So, it is what it is, man. It is what it is. Let's move on. Speaking of, somebody brought up, and I think my man Chuck Miller over on TikTok brought up, that's why I like college basketball over the NBA. Well, let's talk college basketball. College basketball is starting to heat up. Conference season is here. It's about to be February. That's when conference basketball, or at least the conference schedule, really heats up. And so far, the Big 12 is head and shoulders better than every other conference. I don't even think it's close. Matter of fact, I'm positive it's not close. Now, the ACC is pretty good. I take that back. They're average. The SEC is pretty good. The SEC is pretty good. But as far as everybody else, yeah, I don't know. The Big 10 down. Big East is still pretty good. Pac-12, I don't know. I love the fact that there's going to be some mid-majors, but they've kind of, the selection committee has kind of gone away from putting in a bunch of mid-majors the last 3 or 4 years. They've kind of said, we want bigger programs in the tournament, more viewership, more attendance at games. I don't know if you like that or not, but I do. I do. So I like Big East basketball. I like the ACC is still down. It's a little better than it was last year, but it's still down. But I do think college basketball is better when North Carolina is good. And this year, North Carolina is really good. You know, college basketball is better when they're good. And this year, they're pretty good. So the Big 12, though, by far, I mean, they got 8 teams ranked. Kansas State's just outside the rankings. I mean, I think the Big 12 has an opportunity. Now, I don't know if they'll do it, but they got an opportunity to get 11 teams into the tournament this year. I don't know if it'll happen, but they definitely have that opportunity to get 11 teams into the tournament. So we'll see exactly what happens there. So y'all keep tapping the screen, man. We want to get as many people in here as possible over on TikTok. We need at least 5,000 new likes. We need at least that and 30 new follows. So we'll see what happens as far as the NCAA basketball. Looking at some of the rankings, looking at the Big 12 conference, Texas Tech right now is the leader. Kansas, who might be the best team, has lost 3 games already. You know, going on the road in the Big 12 is tough. First of all, every game is tough. But you go on the road in the Big 12, it is a grind. Last night is no exception. Houston goes on the road to Texas. Texas is okay. They're not great. They're okay. Houston got to go to overtime to beat them. And Houston is really, really good. Really good. But it's a grind to win. So it's just tough sledding right now for anybody in the Big 12, man. Texas Tech, Houston, Kansas, Iowa State, TCU, Baylor, BYU is good. Cincinnati is going to be around. You thought, and this is why the conference is so tough, is because you thought that there was going to be some easy wins. UCF, West Virginia, Kansas goes on the road and loses to both of them. That's where the difference is, man. Kansas goes on the road and loses to both of those teams. So, and I don't know if it's just tough sledding, man. It's just tough sledding. My man, Pat Cockrell, he said Kansas is not the best team in the Big 12. They don't have a bench. Houston, I think, is the best. I think you're right. And that's the problem with Kansas. Kansas usually has a bench. They don't have one this year. But also what Kansas doesn't have is a superstar. You know, they usually have a bunch of really good players, but they also have that one guy that you know is going to the NBA. That's going to play. They don't have that this year. They don't have that guy that, oh, yeah, he's going to play 10 years in the NBA. They don't have that. They don't have that at all. You know, now, really good college player, they have a few of those. And there's nothing wrong with being a really good college player, by the way. Nothing wrong with that at all. So it's crazy. It's crazy. But college basketball is heating up, people. We're going to be covering it more and more, especially since the NFL season is winding down. We're going to start covering a lot more college basketball. So take a look, check it out, and let's get after it. Let's get after it. Moving on. Moving on. 2 NFL coaching jobs. There's still some left. Seattle is still available and Washington. Now, I would suspect that Ben Johnson gets hired in Washington any day now, if not later today. I mean, that's been the rumor mill. You haven't heard any noise, which that can be a good thing, but I'm thinking that Ben Johnson is getting the job here shortly, maybe later today, because next week they're not going to announce any new jobs because they let the Super Bowl stand on its own all week. So this is the week. If they're going to hire and make any announcements, you got to do it this week. Otherwise, you got to wait till after the Super Bowl. So I would think that Ben Johnson gets the job. In Seattle, I don't know. I mean, I don't know what they're looking for. I don't know what they want. You would think they want an offensive mind, and there's a few out there. But we'll see and find out what's going to happen in Seattle. Some people were talking, Mike Vrabel. And my thoughts are, I think Vrabel's a good coach. I don't dislike Vrabel being the coach, but if it's Vrabel, didn't you just have that in Pete Carroll? And this is just a younger version? So I don't know. That's kind of my thing. The one thing that I do know for a fact is Bill Belichick ain't getting a job. I can assure you of that. Bill Belichick is not getting a job. I said that at the beginning of all these searches. I said, if he doesn't get the Atlanta job, who else is going to bring him in? And here's the reason why. Let's break it down. Okay, Bill Belichick. What exactly do you want from him? The guy is 72 years old. And I'm not bashing age, but 72 is older to be a head football coach. And he's done it for 50 years. So he's 72. The last 4 to 5 years of him being in charge and putting together a team has not been very successful. Let's just be honest. It hasn't. The New England's roster is terrible, and he put that together. Now, the one thing that you could say, how long is he even going to coach? So he ain't going to coach a decade. So do you want to bring in a 72-year-old that's going to just be coaching your team for the next 2 or 3 years? Probably not. Unless they had somebody that was going to be grooming right along with them to be the next head coach and just slide right into a spot. Okay. Well, who on Belichick coaching tree, or do you trust him to do that? I mean, that would be the first thing is like, what Belichick assistant has been successful? Even remotely successful. So, and you can say Nick Saban, okay, that was 40 years ago that Nick Saban was his assistant, or 30 years ago that he was his assistant. So, okay, that's fine. Nick Saban. Who else? Joe Judge? How'd that work out in New York? Matt Patricia? Josh McDaniels had 2 chances. 2. Terrible. I mean, so his coaching tree is bad, so you definitely don't choose or trust him to bring along somebody. So, yeah, man, not so good. Not so good. It's just, it has not looked good at all. We'll see how Jarrod Mayo turns out. We'll see. But, yeah, it's going to be very interesting. Mike Vrabel has probably been the most successful, but he just got fired. Brian Flores, Jim Schwartz, all these guys. Whoo! And the graphic is up over on YouTube. It does not look good. It does not look good. So that Bill Belichick's not going to get a head coaching job. So the combined record is 217 and 316 of his assistants. Yeah, you don't trust Bill Belichick to bring in a new guy. So Vrabel is waiting on the Bills job to open up next season after the Bills lose to the Chiefs again. I mean, I guess that's risky business when you do something like that, but I guess I would think he would want to be in coach, but maybe he wants to sit out a year. That could be smart as well. So my man Pat Cockrell says, I think NFL organizations are moving away from defensive-minded head coaches. That's why Vrabel and Belichick haven't been hired. I think that the same way, but I think if they get the right guy, McDonald from the Ravens, I mean, you can't have everybody be offensive-minded head coaches. You can't do that. I mean, I guess you can. Don't get me wrong. You can do that. I don't know how successful that's going to be, especially if you've got a guy in place. Or you can bring him. Apparently, nobody wants to hire Eric Bieniemy. Nobody wants to hire him as the head coach. I mean, I think he would be still a good offensive coordinator. But, whatever happened to Bieniemy? I mean, they don't even mention his name anymore as being a head coach. Don't even bring it up. I mean, his name didn't come up anywhere this year. Did he wear out his welcome? Does he interview that bad? Huh. Does he rub players really that bad and rub them the wrong way? Apparently he does. So, but we'll see what happens. These head coaching jobs in the NFL, there's only 32. So they're extremely coveted. Extremely coveted. That's why when people say that Vrabel's holding out, I'm like, I don't know that you want to just hold out if you can get one of those jobs. Now, if you can't, or, you don't think, and don't get me wrong, all of them aren't good jobs. Like the Carolina job, that's not a good job. Not right now. That's not a good job. Having to work for that owner under those circumstances, that's not a good job. Not a good job at all. So, yeah, that would be the thing. It's not a great job. That owner dressing you down in front of your subordinates, having Monday meetings talking football when he has no idea what football is even about. That wouldn't be a job that I would go out. But again, there's only 32 of these things. So there's only 32 of them, man. So, but let's move on. So we got some questions and some stuff. Not a lot of people over on TikTok today, but we'll see. Y'all keep tapping the screen. We'll keep getting it going. My man Jim Eaton says neither Lamar or Burrow will ever win a Super Bowl. Why do you say that? Why do you say neither one of them will ever win a Super Bowl? So, Saints, a bad job with no QB. $75 million over the cap. Bad division is only good thing. That you're right about that. But the problem with the Saints, their organization, who's running the show over there, if you thought that Derek Carr was the answer, that's why you got to get better front office people. You got to get better front office people because that's a joke. That is an absolute joke. So, the Saints, brutal. But that division's bad, but it's going to get better probably pretty quickly. Tampa we'll see what happens with Tampa with Baker. I think he's going to stick around. Wonder what's going to happen with Mike Evans. Will he want to stay? Because he's already got a ring. Does he want to stay and make money in Tampa, or does he want to go somewhere else? I was leaning him leaving earlier in the year. But now, if they got Baker, who's not horrible, I think Mike Evans might stay. He's like, I don't need to chase a ring. I've got a ring. I'm going to the Hall of Fame. I can stay. I'm comfortable in Tampa. I love the weather. We're playing good football. I still catch a lot of passes. I think he stays. I think he stays. So, Jim says Lamar chokes and Joe is too injury prone to win a Super Bowl. I mean, you can't argue with either of those. You can't argue with either of those because they've both proven to be true. Lamar choking in the big moments, and Joe Burrow is injury prone. Cannot stay healthy. Can't stay healthy. So, let's see. My man, Feed Me More Seahawks over on YouTube. Adam Schefter said it, Ben Johnson to the Commanders isn't a slam dunk. And I'm not saying that just because I'm a Seahawks fan. That's what I say because you guys want him to be your head coach. I get it. And maybe it isn't a slam dunk. Maybe he stays in Detroit. Because I can tell you this, and I'm just being honest. I'm sorry, Seahawk fans. I would stay in Detroit before I went to Seattle. I would stay in Detroit and would be the offensive coordinator there if I'm trying to build my resume and my coaching chops with what that offense looks like in Detroit versus what it would look like with who knows who your quarterback's going to be in Seattle. I would stay in Detroit. But that's just me, which is why he stayed in Detroit when the Carolina Panthers offered him the job last year. He was like, nah, I'm going to stay in Detroit. I see what you guys are doing. The owner runs everything and is involved in all of it. I don't want any part of that. So, and I agree. One of Burrow, Mahomes, Stroud, Lamar, Allen will represent AFC in the Super Bowl next decade. Nobody else. Well, that's 5 quarterbacks. Okay. So we're saying that nobody else? I noticed how the Bills fan threw in Allen in there, yet does Allen play well? Does Allen make the plays to win in the big games? But I did notice you threw him in there. That's interesting. But you just said Lamar wasn't going to win. But it is what it is. I get it. I get what you're saying. But those are some pretty good quarterbacks. It's tough to beat those guys. It's tough. We'll see what happens with Herbert and Harbaugh. I think they got an opportunity. I think Harbaugh and Herbert, I think they got an opportunity to do something pretty good. So we'll see what happens. Herbert's got a good coach. I think Harbaugh is a great coach. He's a great football coach. He's proven it at every level that he's been at, that he has been a great coach, including the NFL. He's been great in the NFL. So I think once they rebuild that team, because they definitely need to be rebuilt, once they rebuild the team, I think the Chargers are going to be okay. So definitely something to take a look at. Definitely something. But yeah, man, going back to this LeBron thing, it just drives me insane. I can't deal with the flop. And like I said, I'm a LeBron defender, but I can't defend that. I don't even try either. You can't defend this man when he's rolling around on the ground after somebody hits him with the inside of their wrist on the side of the head. He's laying on the ground, blinking like he can't see, like he's dizzy. I'm like, nobody punched you, man. You got hit. Get up and go whatever's going to happen. Shoot the free throws. Throw the inbounds pass. Whatever. But then 45 seconds later, you drive through the whole team and 3 of them are hanging on you and you get an and one layup. It's just unbelievable, this guy. But oh well. It's been Brady, Manning, Rivers all over again for a decade. Talking about, with Flacco sprinkled in, talking about the AFC quarterbacks. Yeah. But the difference is, and Chuck Miller points it out, one of those guys is not like the others. Yeah, Mahomes. Look, we got to stop putting people in the same class as Patrick Mahomes. We got to stop doing that. We have tried to put all these guys and say they're as good as Patrick Mahomes. No, they're not. They're not. Okay? We got to stop doing it. And just, well, Joe Burrow's just as good as him. No, he isn't. Josh Allen, oh, man, he's as good as Mahomes. No, he isn't. Lamar, he's as good as – no, he isn't. Nobody is as good as Mahomes. And once we come to that realization that Mahomes is better than everybody, the better off we will be. Now, I understand that other guys are good. That doesn't mean that these other quarterbacks aren't good. That's the thing. Yeah, these other quarterbacks are really good quarterbacks, but they're just not as good as Patrick Mahomes. And that's okay. That's okay. You don't have to be the best quarterback in the league to be very good. I mean, Brady and Manning played in the NFL at the same time. One of them was the best. The other one was not. That doesn't mean they both weren't Hall of Famers. Surefire Hall of Famers. Top 5 quarterbacks of all time. But one of those guys was better than the other. I mean, and that's the thing. That's what we have to start doing. We got to start putting a little bit more respect on Patrick Mahomes' name. That's what we have to do, in my opinion. Put more respect on Patrick Mahomes' name and start separating him from these other guys. That doesn't mean his team is going to win the Super Bowl every year either. Tom Brady didn't win the Super Bowl every year. Joe Montana didn't win the Super Bowl every year. Peyton Manning didn't win the Super Bowl every year. But that doesn't mean that they still weren't at the top of the heap when it comes to quarterbacks. So we got to stop. We got to stop it. And somebody down here said that Mahomes equals Brady, Burrow equals Manning. I'm not putting Joe Burrow is equal to Peyton Manning. Are you sick? No. He's not in that class yet. Doesn't mean he can't get there. But when did Peyton Manning get hurt? When did Peyton Manning miss seasons? Durability is a real thing. You don't blame anybody for being hurt. So you can't just, oh, Joe Burrow, man, it's his fault he got hurt. Nobody's saying that. But availability. Peyton Manning didn't get hurt. Not early. He got hurt way later in his career. Way later. So I respect. That's what my man Bill's Mafia Forever on TikTok says. I 100% respect Mahomes. They all said he would struggle without Hill. Exactly. And all he's done is go to 2 Super Bowls, win an MVP, and win a Super Bowl. That's all he's done since Tyreek Hill left. My man Pete Cockrell over on YouTube, I think Burrow will win a Super Bowl if they can get a solid O-line. Lamar, I don't know. I think he just missed the best opportunity. That's the thing about Lamar. I think Lamar, that might be the best team that Lamar ever plays on. Now, they could get some better weapons because their second receiver, Rashard Bateman, he's not any good. He's not very good. He's a number 3 at best. At best. But as far as a team-wise, this might be the best team that Lamar Jackson's ever played on. And choked it away. So, my man Darren Howard talking about the Saints. I don't know how Mickey Loomis still has the job. He's been cooking the books for 15 years. Yeah. And, I mean, all the cap space, they're just constantly under are over the cap. I'm like, oh my gosh. So feed me more Seahawks. Thank you for the super chat, man. Do you like the new Pro Bowl system? You don't? I do. But here's the thing, though. I like the new format just for the simple fact, if they're not going to play real football, which the Pro Bowl the last 10 to 15 years was not real football. They're not going hard. And I understand why. I don't blame them. Since they're not going to play a real football game, make it into something that's fun. Flag football, skills competition, all these other things. I like it. I like it. They're not playing real football. I get it. There's a lot of money at stake for a real game. And the money that you win for the Pro Bowl doesn't equal if you get a season-ending injury and you can't play anymore. Now, if they made it worth your while and the winners, everybody got $1 million, that would be different. But that's not what happens. And so the money isn't enough for guys to go hard, so they don't. And even in the Pro Bowls before, it was like guys didn't go hard until the fourth quarter. And then in the fourth quarter, because, okay, they're getting $75,000 to win, well, people weren't making near as much money back in those days. So that $75,000 is a lot on the grand scheme of things. They don't make as much money now, or back then, as they do now. So now people think, well, I'm still not for 75 grand. Nah, I'm not going to do it. Which is crazy to me because 75 grand is still 75 grand, but what are you going to do? What are you going to do? So why do I have new streaming hours, Keegan? Because it worked out better for me and actually works out better for people that follow the show. So that is the reason that we switched to mornings at 9, my man. No, nothing other than that. Works out better for me. Works out better. It's a better time for people to come in. And we've seen a lot more viewership since then. So, a lot more engagement. Lamar, according to Feed Me More Seahawks, Lamar is the scariest QB due to his run-pass ability. But Mahomes is the best QB overall, and it's not close. Absolutely. It's not even close. Patrick Mahomes is head and shoulders better than everybody. But again, that doesn't mean other quarterbacks aren't good. It just means Mahomes is the best. It just means Mahomes is the best. And I know a lot of people out there try to disrespect him and say, well, it's because of Andy Reid. Okay. So he's in a really good system. But does that mean he's not a really good quarterback? No, it doesn't. And then people, well, I want to see him without Andy Reid. Okay. What difference does it make? He's playing with Andy Reid. We've seen guys play with Andy Reid before. Are we saying any of those quarterbacks are the best ever? Or even the best in the league? Like Donovan McNabb. Was anybody saying Donovan McNabb was the best quarterback in the NFL? He played for Andy Reid. Was anybody saying that Alex Smith was the best quarterback in the league? No. But they're saying that Patrick Mahomes is in the top 5 quarterbacks of all time right now. So that's what they're saying about Patrick Mahomes. So don't tell me, oh, I got to see him without Andy Reid. What difference does it make? He's playing in a great system, but he is a great quarterback. So Gavin says, I think Josh Allen and Mahomes are close. No, they're not. No, they're not. Too many games Josh Allen will give away. Mahomes doesn't do that. Too many games where Josh Allen doesn't make the play to win. We just saw Mahomes when he needed to make a play to win the game, he made it. The week before when Josh Allen needed to make a play to win, he didn't. That's the difference. And to me, when we're comparing people and you're grasping at straws, that difference of being able to make a play to win and not, that makes the gap huge, in my opinion. That makes the gap huge. That doesn't shrink the gap or keep it close. If you are able to consistently make the plays to win at the end of the game versus a guy that is not, to me, that makes the gap huge. So Mahomes and Josh Allen are not close. Mahomes is just better. Much smarter QB. Mahomes is just better. But again, that doesn't mean Josh Allen's not great. Doesn't mean that at all, because he is. And anybody saying that Josh Allen isn't great, you should stop talking to them about football and just let it go. Don't argue, just let it go. So, yeah, but Mahomes is a better quarterback. Burrow is a good great quarterback. But we got to see more Burrow. He got to stay healthy. He's got to stay healthy. And yeah, their offensive line is bad. Their offensive line is terrible. Not bad, it's terrible. And he keeps getting beat up. Which partly that's part of the problem of the Bengals. I mean, the front office, my goodness. Draft some good offensive linemen. That should be their first 2 picks this year, are offensive linemen. Get you some good offensive linemen to help your quarterback stay healthy. Also to help you run the ball. So, and Burrow is one of the QBs to beat Mahomes in the playoffs. But did he beat Mahomes, or was it the Bengals defense? Because if you go back and watch the game, it wasn't Burrow making all these crazy plays to outduel Mahomes. That's not what happened. It was the Cincinnati defense shut down Mahomes in the second half. That's what happened. Yeah, I think they always get that misconception that they say, well, Burrow just outdueled Mahomes and went to the Super Bowl. Yeah, anybody who watched that football game will know, yeah, no, that's not what happened. That's not what happened. It was Mahomes played one of the worst halves of football that we've seen anybody play, and it was because of Cincinnati's defense was so good. And that happened. That's a real thing. That was a real thing. So, but I like the conversation. I like the comparisons. I definitely like the conversation. I think the more good quarterbacks that get in the league, the better. Because it is definitely, the NFL is a quarterback league. And I think the more that we start talking about it, the more that we can get in there, the better. The one person that I don't think is going to be good that people keep talking about, actually the 2 quarterbacks that we're talking about, and I want to hear what y'all's opinion are, that are coming into the league this year, Bo Nix and Michael Penix. I don't think those guys are going to be very good in the NFL. I don't think either of those guys are going to be good. Number one, Penix doesn't make good throw. He doesn't make pinpoint throws. He doesn't make those kinds of throws. He was throwing to wide open guys deep down the field at Washington. He's not throwing into open windows, tight coverage. You didn't see him doing that. And the only game we saw where he had to make those kinds of throws was against Michigan, and he looked awful. Where you had NFL caliber DBs and NFL caliber defense, and he looked awful. 52% is what he completed his passes in that game. Didn't look good. And he's got 3 NFL receivers on his team. Did not look good. Bo Nix, you playing in an Oregon offense, all that hurry-up style and all that. Okay, that's great for college. We saw what he looked like playing against NFL caliber defenders in 3 years at Auburn. He looked so good he had to transfer because he stunk. I don't buy it. And yeah, he's better. Bo Nix is also 24 years old playing against 18-year-olds. Michael Penix, same thing. Some of these guys are just, when you have grown man strength and you're playing against 18 and 19-year-olds, that makes a difference, man. And nobody wants to just come out and say that. That makes a difference. You're telling me that at 18 and 19, you're as physically dominant. Now, you'll have a few outliers. versus a 24-year-old? Come on. No, it's not the same. It's not the same. So that's one thing that we have to keep in mind. That you still got to be able to make the plays and make the throws in tight coverage. And when you're dealing with people in college, you can manipulate college cornerbacks. You can manipulate them. That's what they do. In the NFL, it becomes much harder to do that. That's why I think both of those guys are going to struggle. I want them to prove me wrong. I want to be wrong because I want everybody to succeed. But in my opinion, I think both of them are going to have a hard time. So, and I mean, Penix has been injured, but I mean, quarterbacks tearing their ACLs. I mean, it is what it is. I know a lot of people are going to look at that and think that he's just injury prone. And he was hurt 4 years in a row. But I think it's more of his accuracy throwing the ball in tight windows than injury. I think that's what's going to hold him back. So let's see. Pete Cockrell's got an opinion here. He says, I might get flamed for this, but I don't think Caleb Williams will be a great QB in the league. Loves drama, requesting partial ownership of the team that drafts him, for example. So let's break that down real quick. So let's just say that Caleb Williams, let's just say that those reports are true, that his dad wanted ownership in an NFL team. Well, first off, you can't get what you don't ask for. That would be number one. So if that's true, you don't get what you don't ask for. That's number one. Number two, did we call Eli Manning and John Elway, did we say that they were drama when they said, I didn't want to play for the organization that drafted me? Because they did that. And the difference is now people have options because you make all this money, these guys making this NIL money in college, they got some options. They got a little bit of leverage. And there's nothing wrong with having leverage. Because, hey, you can draft me, but I'm not going to play for you. I don't want to play for you. And then somebody's wasted a first-round draft pick. Well, who can afford to do that? Especially if I got a bunch of money sitting in my account. Nothing wrong with leverage. Matter of fact, I love it. So let's just say all that stuff about Caleb Williams is true. If you're not going to bash other people for doing it, why bash him? Again, you can't get what you don't ask for. So, there's no owner that's going to give him ownership. So I can assure you of that. That ain't going to happen. But I have to ask because how do I know? Maybe they will give it to me. So now as far as his play on the field, I think Caleb Williams is good. I think he'll be fine. He had a bad offensive line at USC. Let's just say that. He had a bad offensive line. He didn't make enough on-time throws because I don't think he had enough time to make those throws. But I haven't really taken a deep dive to look. I know a lot of people that have taken the deep dive to look say, yeah, he missed open windows and held on to the ball. And some of that is running around scared because your offensive line is terrible. But I think Caleb Williams will be fine in the NFL. I like Drake May as well. I think Drake May is going to be great. I think he's going to be great. And if the Broncos can get him, I think that's a perfect marriage. I think it's the perfect marriage. So hopefully the Broncos can make that happen because I think that's the perfect spot for him. Even though I'm not real big Sean Payton fan, but the man can coach offensive football. So, well, we're going to shut this one down for today, people. We appreciate all the support, man. And again, Monday through Friday, 9 a.m., Big B Daily Show, 9 a.m. Central Time. We're live on TikTok. We're live on YouTube. Everybody tell somebody. Come join us tomorrow. Whether you're on TikTok, please give me a follow if you're not already following. On YouTube, please subscribe if you have not already subscribed to Big B Sports Talk We appreciate everybody joining the show. We'll come back tomorrow and try to do it better. Aloha.